Hey, Tammy, and everybody else who's joining us live and those who are watching later. Today, I'm super excited that and honored that Lisa Hunt, the founder of FedUp Foods, is here to share with us today. And I'm at just a little background on, and thank you, Lisa, for being here, first of all.
Of course.
Yes, so I met Lisa, how many years ago was it that you sent me that sample?
I would say it was about 5 years. Yeah, because it's right when I was getting started. So almost 5 years ago, I'd say. Been a while.
Yeah, so I think you got in touch, you sent me a sample. I was blown away by the sample, just in terms of, before I knew too much about it, just first of all, the taste of it, because I had started to get really picky about that point with my protein shakes. Things started just not tasting good. I was so much more whole foods based that they tasted like powder, they tasted artificial, and I was really getting away from them. And so when yours came along, it was, it tasted like, I got the peanut butter one, is still my favorite to this day.
Yeah.
And it tasted like I had put a scoop of peanut butter in my shake. And I'm reading the ingredients, and there's not only, all this protein, but there's all these, all this other nutritional stuff in there, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And so I was just blown away. I was impressed. I got to know Lisa, got to know, and it's so rare to be able to get to know the founder, the creator of supplements, because it's so hard to know, what's quality and what the motives are behind the creation. And so I got to know you, Lisa, and the integrity that you had and the passion that you had. It was just like, okay, I found my protein. And we've gotten to be friends, and we've gotten to meet up. Lisa was in Temecula. Oh my gosh, Tammy's in Temecula, right? Tammy?
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, I just met Tammy, and Alyssa just joined us. Hey, Alyssa, Alyssa's in San Francisco area. I got to meet Alyssa last year or the year before. Tammy, I got to meet just a few months back. I went to San Diego. She came down. Yes, so you guys have something in common. But you're in Utah now. Say again?
Oh, she probably goes to Organic Route, so it's like my favorite store in Temecula. It's like a mini Whole Foods.
Yeah, so cool. And we have one other program member who is from there too. And there's a 30-second delay, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
She's actually in Rancho Cucamonga.
Oh, yeah.
Is that close?
It's not far, but it's not really close.
Okay. Well,
it's not too bad.
Okay. Not too far. All right. So that's how I discovered you. Lisa, would you take a few minutes, and I know, it's going to be a lot in a nutshell, but kind of tell us how you got started and just kind of your story to start us off?
Sure. I mean, without starting a whole, novel over here. I really got into health when I was about 19. Previously, I grew up in Texas and East Texas. And, if anyone's from that area, that people aren't really focused on quality of nutrition in that area. So I grew up, and both my parents own their own businesses. So I grew up on a junk food diet and just, top ramen, grilled cheese sandwiches. I loved like my little Debbie snacks, just horrible food, horrible eating, totally addicted to sugar and processed food. So that had kind of fueled my life. And I never ate vegetables for up until I was like about 18, 19 years old. And I ended up meeting someone who introduced me to the idea that cancer had been cured by eating, with their diet, like by eating a plant-based diet. And they introduced me to Max Gerson. And this is this guy that came around like World War II. And he was the first one to cure skin tuberculosis, and found that cure also treated cancer and a host of other different illnesses. And not to get too far into that, but I was so inspired by that because I've always been very interested in anatomy and physiology in the body. I wanted to become a veterinarian for most of my life and go into vet surgery, and ended up not pursuing that and pursuing nursing instead. So at this time, I was already on track to go into the nursing program, and very, science-based and centered. And I found that as I started incorporating these principles into my life, that I was like, wow, okay, I went a whole week without eating meat. This is supposed to be like this huge thing. Like, oh my gosh, am I going to die? And I found out that I actually felt better. And I was like, wow, actually my energy it's great. Like my clarity is great. Like I feel like I'm not missing anything. I actually feel better. And so I decided to like, oh, let me do it for 30 days, you know? And so as I experimented with my diet and started cutting, you know, processed foods out and replacing them with whole foods, I was just super rewarded with feeling better. I was in college at the time and working more than full-time and full-time college student. I noticed that my memory was better. My performance in school was great. I just mental health was really great. And I was just really inspired by like the power of plants. And it got me into herbs and like Ayurvedic medicine and things like that. And I started creating like my own concoctions. Like, okay, I'm going to take this combination of herbs and superfoods for like energy. This one's going to help me be calm and focused. And, you know, that was something that I did on the side. And then I found when I was in the nursing program, I got accepted and I got through all my clinicals, and I got to this point where we were like doing NG tubing like patients. And that's where you have a tube that goes up someone's nose, goes into their stomach, and you feed them like a liquid diet, right? So this is supposed to be a meal replacement in liquid form. And me, naturally, I'm already in health and I've been vegan and all this stuff. And so I looked, and the first ingredient was corn syrup. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, and if you guys don't know this, the first ingredient on your nutrition facts panel or supplement facts panel is going to be the greatest quantity of that item. So they have to list it in order. So the greatest quantity of this person's diet, who's so sick that they can't eat for themselves, was corn syrup. And then, I mean, I can't even get into like all the other crazy ingredients that were in it. And I took it to my nursing instructor, who's also supposed to be like more holistic minded like me. And I was like, did you see like what we're feeding these people? Like, this is corn syrup. Like, is this for real? And she's like, oh, well, don't tell your patients that. And I was like, well, what do I tell myself when I go to give this to them? You know what I mean? And how am I supposed to be helping this person? And that's kind of where I got to the point where I was like, you know, I'm going to have to choose like what I'm going to do. Am I going to keep doing nursing? And there's great things about nursing, you know, it's not all bad, but you are an instrument in the pharmaceutical industries and in the business of health. You are an instrument in their hands to delegate and to distribute these things that are not helping people. They're taking away from their health. And I just couldn't do it. You know, I got to a point where it just wasn't ethical. And I was like, there's no way I can do this as a career. And so luckily I have a husband who's very understanding. And I was like, I'm going to drop out. I'm going to drop out of nursing school that I worked so hard to get into. And I have to do something that's me, something that I can be passionate about, something that I know that I can go to bed at night knowing that, okay, I contributed to the world and to people and didn't take away from them. And that's where Powerootz was started. I came up with, you know, I had all these concoctions I was already doing for myself. And I started looking into creating a meal replacement, because that's what inspired me to leave. I said, you know, if they're going to make a horrible one, I'm going to make one that's better. So that's kind of where it all started. And that's what motivated me to get where I am today.
Wow, Lisa, I didn't know, I hadn't heard that specific story about the feeding tube and what they were.
Yeah.
I am in disbelief right now. I mean, I am,
yeah.
and I.
This is standard. This is standard. This is what they give people. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting. It's really disgusting, and I don't know how these people sleep at night feeding these people poison. Like, really, like the companies that are creating this, they know this isn't helping people. You know what I mean? So it's just it's really disturbing.
Wow, Tammy said, what an awesome story. So fantastic. Oh, and Stephanie's on too. She's our head mindset coach in the program. You're gonna have to meet all these people because we have the best team in the world working with me and the plant back. So let's. So I wanted to bring you on because I know I had so many questions about supplements and didn't know where to turn to. And you Google it and you're like, okay, who is this study funded by? Who's giving me this information? And then there's
right.
like pay to get on, and they're gonna rate, and you're like, okay, who do I trust? I have no idea. Are these things regulated? Can you give us like and I know you specialize in nutritional shakes, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So we're gonna just under the umbrella of what you know most about, what you're an expert about. Yeah, can you give us kind of a summary of just supplements and how people can go about, like, what's available to help people figure out what what's quality and what's not, and how to go about choosing.
You know, it's actually really difficult for people to be able to do that, because every company is going to say, I have the best, and this is the best quality, and this is why. And because, you know, on the label, you see, okay, for example, one of the ingredients in my product is organic raw pea protein, right? So you see pea protein on 3 different products, and you say, okay, it's pea protein. So what's the difference? If it's the same name on the label, how do you know if it's going to be quality pea protein? Is there such thing as low quality pea protein? And there's such a huge difference. Where did that come from? So you really have to dig find a product that you're interested in, contact a company, and you have to dig and know what questions to ask. And they make it difficult for a reason. I know it sounds like very daunting, but you do have to do your homework when it comes to this stuff. And that's what I found out when I started. What most people don't know is say you wanted to go and start your own like shake line, right? You're actually very limited on who you can get your ingredients from and sourcing, because most co-packers will not allow you to source your own ingredients. So there are several products, I mean, like most products, I would say probably 95% of them, where they're made from the same exact ingredients, rearranged in a different way, at different concentrations, and slap it. It's called white label. And so you're not, whoever is starting the company, you actually don't own your recipe. You don't own any of that stuff. You don't even know where your stuff's coming from, that they control all of that. And so it was really hard for me to get started, because I do 100% of my ingredient sourcing. So I control every aspect of it. For example, like say the pea protein, ask them if you're investigating nutritional shake, they're going to have a high protein source. What countries are the pea proteins or any protein coming from? And provide me with a certificate of analysis to show what is the heavy metal content, what is the bacterial testing look like I said, origin as well, like the country. You want to know whether there's any solvents used in the product. For example, hexane is extremely, it's nasty solvent, and they use it to extract protein, right? So the pea protein that I get is hexane free and solvent free. They actually extract it with water only, and it's raw. And so that's what makes it a lot higher quality. And I get it from Belgium. 99% of the people are sourcing their protein from China. It's cheaper. They say it's organic. It does have heavy metal issues when you get it from China as well. I mean, there's so much, I could really go into this forever, but it's really hard. They make it hard. They make it hard for people because the ingredients look the same, but you don't know what went behind sourcing those ingredients and what testing went behind it as well. So I know that doesn't really answer the question very well, but it's just the truth of the industry. It's very suspect, you know what I mean, in that way.
Yeah, no, this is what I wanted to hear. I mean, it's not what I wanted to hear, but it's the truth is what I wanted to get out, because yeah, we don't have those regulations. We don't have that information readily available, which is another reason why when you find one that you actually speak with the person who formulated and sourced the ingredients. I mean, that's why I'm your biggest fan, but I'm not, because Stephanie said, Lisa, I'm your biggest fan, a total groupie.
Well,
and I
just glad that I went into this because the reason why I created what I created is because it truly, you can't find it. Like if you look out there at your options, there's a billion different brands, but it's all the same thing, packaged and marketed in a different way. And everyone's got, flavorings, everyone's got fillers, whether it's organic or not, they still have flavorings and fillers in there. They're adding synthetic vitamins that they're making in a lab. These are not coming from Whole Foods. What's the quality of the minerals? Where are the minerals coming from? Or even, you know what I mean? So there's just so much that goes into the thought behind creating something. And when I looked at the industry and I looked at what was available, and what I found out is that there's a lot of business over, it's very much, how can I make money? How can I cut down the cost and still make it feel like it's quality to go with the trend? And so most people go into this industry to make money. because it's trending right now. And it is a very profitable industry for people who have buku bucks to invest into it. You know what I mean? And so they have this really cheap product and they turn it into something that they make you think is good for you. And I'm sure there's great benefits to some of the ingredients, but there's a lot of corners that have cut. I can assure you, a lot of corners.
Yeah. So, some things, and I want to talk about a few specific ingredients that you include in just a moment.
Yeah.
But while we're on this topic of cost, I mean, is it one of those things you get what you pay for? Is that true for this?
That's not always true. I mean, I don't want to get sued for naming names, but there are companies out there that retail for $130 a bag that say that they have all these superfoods in it and it's part of a health program, and they're charging buku bucks for it, and the quality is not what you're paying for. So it's not always the case that you get what you pay for, because a lot of it is marketing. For example, that one company, they pay their person that sells it $40 to sell that product. So you're already paying $40 over the value of the ingredients just so someone can get paid to sell it. You know what I mean? That's why for me, like I don't focus on retail. I focus on direct with my customer, because if I sold retail, just so the retail customers would want to carry my stuff, I probably have to sell it for 30% more than what I'm selling it for, just to accommodate. So that's why I sell it direct, so that you can get value for something that's, it's not cheap, but it's not crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, okay. So it doesn't work in thinking that just because it's expensive, it's good.
Absolutely not. Absolutely
not. If it's
all
super
marketing.
cheap, right? If it's super cheap, does it go the other way? Like, does that not necessarily mean it's crap?
If it's super cheap, it's probably not good for not good either.
But I figured.
Quality, how much I pay, like, to give you an example, the previous co-packer that I worked with, they also produced their own line as well of products, and they had nutritional shakes. And I told them I want to bring my stuff in because I'm sourcing my own ingredients, and they were fine with that, and they let me do it. And one of the things that I told them that they were looking at who I sourced from, because they sourced from China. And I was like, yeah, you guys should source from the same person, because, it's certified organic. It comes from Belgium. It doesn't have any solvents in it. I mean, this is unheard of for this ingredient. It's really great. It's really clean. And they were like, oh, but it costs this much more a pound. I'm like, well, yeah, but this is what, you want to have quality for your customers, and you're able to offer them these benefits that they can't get from other products. Like, this is great. This is better quality. And they still wouldn't do it for themselves because the cost was more. So these big companies, and even some small companies, I'm sure, but especially the big ones, it's all the dollar at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So they're going to cut costs where they can. So if it's cheap, it's going to be cheap for a reason. If it's expensive, it's not always expensive for a reason. If they make it difficult, Ella, it's all marketing for a lot of this stuff. Yeah.
Everything's marketing, right? And there are lots of claims somebody could make that would sound similar to yours when their product is nothing like yours, but marketing wise, they can make it sound like it's quality like yours.
There's certain things that you can do to kind of, once you educate yourself on ingredients, you can kind of learn how to decipher, okay, is this does this company have my best interest at heart? One great example of that is vitamin B12, right? So you have a lot of companies like, oh, this has got B12 in it. Well, what kind of B12? And whenever they have cyanocobalamin as the B12 source, always say red flag, red flag, red flag. That is a low quality. It does not even absorb when you ingest it orally. You have to get a shot of, and it's terrible. It's made from cyanide and cobalt. This is a man-made vitamin, and it has the benefit of it is nothing. It's horrible. So the reason why they choose cyanocobalamin, because it's like 1/10 of the price of methylcobalamin, which is a natural B12 made from bacteria, which is like a red color. It's way more expensive, but it has the most bioavailability when you ingest it. Hydroxycobalamin is another good one, but methylcobalamin, I would say, is probably the best. So you can see, okay, if a company chooses cyanocobalamin and they're willing to cut corners, and if you're going into this industry, you know whether your ingredients work or not. You know what your options are. If they're going to choose a less quality thing that they know that doesn't work because it's cheap, and they think, oh, just because I can put B12 on the label, people are going to buy it, then you already know what their interest is. It's them, it's not you. And so you kind of have to teach yourself about certain ingredients and what to watch out for.
That is an awesome tip, Lisa.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it makes perfect sense, but I don't know if I would have thought of that. That is fantastic. So I want to, and we're not going really long here today, but I think people are going to have a ton of questions after this. So if you would come back on another time, that would be fantastic. I asked people okay. Yeah, I asked people I think I gave examples of questions they could ask, and maybe they were the questions everybody wanted to ask, but this is going to bring up a lot more, I think. But can you tell us, another reason I love Powerootz so much, not only because I know firsthand how tirelessly you work, I mean, day in and day out, like you go to every length to make sure you get the best stuff. And I've seen it, I've heard it, I've witnessed it. So that is, first of all, just remarkable and amazing. And I thank you for that. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the ingredients, like the Terramin clay that yours has that are special?
So what I love about my shakes and what is so different about them is I'm actually the first shake company that I'm aware of. I've looked and looked and looked. I'm the first person who has ever put calcium montmorillonite clay in my shakes. And clay is a very interesting substance. If you do a lot of clay, so like say like you do like a tablespoon, that's gonna have a very detoxifying, cleansing effect where you're gonna like push stuff out of your body, right? But clay can also be a very good mineral source if you take it in small amounts, where it doesn't have the flushing effect. It just has like the mineral profile that's in it and silicates and things like that. So one of the things that I wanted to do is, like I said before, I was inspired by Max Gerson, and part of his program is using Terramin clay or calcium montmorillonite clay. And they use this clay to help cancer patients and people with diseases to remove toxicity and yada, yada. So I'd already been introduced to this clay through my own personal, research and stuff. And I had already been taking it. And what's really cool about it is the only clay that's been approved for use in space by NASA, for astronauts to prevent bone density loss. It helps with hematopoiesis. It's a great clay. And what I noticed in the industry is everybody focuses on vitamins. It's vitamins. We put so many vitamins in this, and the quality of those, which is suspect, but they put a lot of vitamins and things. When do you ever hear companies promoting the minerals that they put in their stuff? It's not very often that they talk about the minerals. We still don't understand minerals very well. We have very, very little knowledge of the importance of most of the minerals. There's so many different ones. And I think that they're personally really key. They actually have done studies on the soil, and in the United States, our soil contains about 10% of the minerals that it did 90 to 100 years ago because of farming. We're farming the soil over and over, and they're only putting nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium back into the soil to get things to grow. But what about everything else? So our bodies are really deficient, in my opinion, in a really well-balanced spectrum of minerals, which are so important. They're involved in every aspect of your body's metabolism and everything. So I wanted to include something that wasn't from a lab, that came from the earth, and that could supply us with a really good spectrum of our macro, micro, and trace mineral elements. The clay that I put in my shakes has about 50 plus on average. Obviously there's variations because it is from the earth and it's a clay. So, one sample here is going to be just a little slightly different than a different sample, but it boasts about 50 different minerals on average. And where are you getting that from? Even when you're eating produce at the store, you're still not getting that profile. And so I think a lot of people, when they drink the shakes, they notice that they feel better and they have more energy and things like that. And I think a huge part of that is from the minerals, because we're just not getting them in our diet anymore. And I just love it. I love my clay minerals. They're probably one of my favorite ingredients in the shakes for sure.
Amazing. Okay, are there one or two other ingredients that you wanted to share that's in the shake?
I would say, oh gosh, there's so many that I love. I'm like looking at my bottle right now. I have like so many superfoods in here, but the newest one that I just added was raw organic moringa leaf powder. And moringa is like amazing. I think there's like 90 plus like nutrients in it. It's considered like one of the world's most complete foods. You can eat almost every part of the plant. I'm just really excited about the moringa because it just has such a like awesome nutritional profile. And I think the more that you can get a spectrum of nutrition, different phytochemicals and things like that in your body, the better chance you have to basically refill your body from any deficiencies that might have existed. So that's probably one of my other really favorite ones because it's kind of new, and I just started putting that in there. I think about probably about six to 8 months ago, and yeah, so I just keep coming up with like new ways to add like special ingredients. Yeah.
I love it. Tammy said, I love your passion, Lisa. It's so
Oh, thank
infectious.
you. Oh,
It really
there's one
is.
more thing. There's one more thing though. So the cacao powder that I use in my shakes, one thing that makes them really different, and you can also tell, you know how like I talked about B12. Another thing you can find out about quality is a lot of people put Dutch processed cocoa, and they put cocoa powder, and it's spelled different than cacao, and it's a processed form of cocoa beans. It basically removes all the nutrition and makes it emulsify better. So the reason why they use that in shakes is because the Dutch processed or cocoa powder is because it blends a lot easier. So if you just shake it up in a shaker bottle, it's going to suspend into the liquid easier. And the downside to that is you're losing the benefits of the raw cacao, you know, the vitamin C and all that stuff that naturally comes from raw cacao. So what's cool about Powerootz is I actually sourced my cacao from Peru, and it's got a great taste and it's raw. And so there's no loss. The only thing about it is I recommend blending if you get any of like the chocolate flavors, blend it with like a blender if you really want it to like cream up like the chocolate just to spin all the way. You know, you gotta do just a little extra step instead of just shaking it up if you want it to spin all the way. But I think it's worth it for the nutritional benefits that you get. And it's a higher quality ingredient for sure. So they have Dutch processed cocoa powder. Don't do it.
Cutting corners.
Do that. Yeah.
Because we're drinking these things because we are working towards being our healthiest selves and packing our body with nutrition. It's worth it. And, you know, spending the extra money on a quality product is all the less money you're going to spend later on healthcare. I mean, and not to mention
it's like your own personal health insurance. You're investing in yourself. And we deserve it. We deserve to feel good. I mean, our bodies are these amazing machines, and we deserve to be able to reach our highest potential and not be held back because of people lying or using ingredients that they know are addictive and they know that trick our brains into wanting to crave them and eat them, you know what I mean? And so we don't deserve that. We deserve to feel our best and to reach our personal, you know, our personal like peak that we can reach. And you can definitely do that, I think, personally, through a whole food plant-based approach and through proper nutrition. Absolutely.
1000%. And I think that brings up a good point. Something that we work on in the Plant Powered Coaching Program is just knowing your worth and knowing that you deserve that. And a lot of the women we work with, you know, it's usually all about, okay, what's the cheapest, you know, on everything. And we rarely take a step back and say, okay, wait, let me examine this. Okay, what is the value here? What does this mean for me? What does this mean for the rest of my life? And take that pause and give yourself permission to spend the money that it takes to ensure your health, because that's going to lead to the body you want, that feels good, that energizes you, that helps you fulfill your passions and bring joy into your life. I mean, it's priceless.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And you know, everybody has an iPhone at the end of the day for the most part. It's like you sacrifice for these outward things that at the end they don't, you know, your physical health, when it's taken from you, that's when you really realize like, wow, like I didn't know what I had until it was gone. And so like we're willing to spend this money on our clothes and our phones and makeup and all these other things, and we're leaving our nutrition as a back burner. And it will catch up with you. It always catches up with you. And so like, I think that it's totally reasonable to rewire your brain and realize what's important and just to make the sacrifices that you need to make. Whether it's, you don't even have to buy a supplement. You can just, you know, eat a whole food plant-based diet, you know, try and eat organic, you know, try to just take those steps in the right direction. And it's always going to pay off, always going to pay off.
Amen to that. And I will also post my link for Powerootz. I think this is the one product that I promote. I think you're the only product that I actually like promote, because I am so picky about who I choose to put my name behind.
Everybody should be picky. Yeah. Everybody should be picky. Make these companies accountable for what they're doing. Make them
Yeah.
accountable. Yeah.
I don't count on affiliate marketing because I can't. I don't want to. I don't want that to be my business. But I just believe in yours so much. So I will put the link. It's 10% off if they use my link, I think, to get
Yes,
the product.
it's 10% off. And you can reuse it too. So anytime you check out with her code, you can reuse it for 10% off.
Bookmark it. And you guys, if anybody who's tried it before want to talk about it, or who is going to order it and try it, please share with the group. I have never had anyone say anything but holy shit. This is freaking awesome. This is the best stuff I've ever had.
It tastes different because it doesn't have like fillers or gums or flavoring. So everything you taste, everything that's on your palate is coming from real food, from just real whole foods. And so people have forgotten, like, wow, okay, like you can actually eat whole foods and it tastes good and doesn't have a weird aftertaste, and it doesn't, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I think people will be pleasantly surprised when they try it, to know that all that flavor and robustness can come from just the foods itself. We don't have to spice it up with anything artificial or chemical.
Amazing. And Lisa is a member of our Empowered Vegan Life group too. So if you guys have questions, she is always working hard to be available to answer them. If you want to put them in the comments anytime or in the future. I think somebody asked about spirulina and I went right to you and you got right back to me. Alyssa said, I love Powerootz. You've got a lot of already fans here that are already hooked on your products. I share them with the Plant Powered Coaching Program. That's, again, the one product I share. So anyway, we will bring you back because I know people are going to have more questions. You are just a wealth of knowledge and energy and passion, and I appreciate you so much, Lisa.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate the support. You know, I just got to get the word out there of why I'm different. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think the product speaks for itself.
Agreed. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks, Lisa.
Bye,
See you guys later. See you in the group.